This is the iQue, an obscure yet completely official Nintendo console that was only released in China during a time when the country was undergoing a nationwide video game ban. But in order to understand where this console came from and to fully contextualize it, we're gonna have to talk about this.
The N64 is truly breakthrough technology. Nintendo took the power of a $100,000 computer workstation and put it into an affordable home game machine.
Nintendo's newest release is causing a commotion, and children aren't the only ones getting into it. Toys R Us had the largest shipment available to the public, and before noon, they were sold out.
This is going to be the system for the year, and it's obviously going to be one of those high-demand things. It's going to be extremely difficult to get a hold of.
The difference between this game and all the rest is in the name, Nintendo 64.
If you're coming to the store to get your hand on one of these, you'll likely end up with one of these, and they're not guaranteeing you can get one before the holidays.
When I was a kid, the Nintendo 64 had already been out for a few years. My first experience with playing the console was not at my own place because our family didn't own one. But we had a family friend who did own one, and we used to play on it whenever we would come over. We played things like Diddy Kong Racing and Mario Kart 64, and it was a lot of fun. I fell in love with the console the first time I played it. And I remember I saved up some money and asked my friend, hey, would you be willing to sell me your console? Because they didn't play it all that much. And he agreed, and that was my first Nintendo 64, and I loved it. I played it a lot. The Nintendo 64 was a very successful video game console released by Nintendo in 1996. While it did not sell as many units as its predecessor, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, or SNES, it was still a highly popular console during its time and sold over 32 million units worldwide. One of the defining features of the Nintendo 64 was its use of 3D graphics, which were revolutionary at the time. The console also had a strong lineup of exclusive games such as Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and GoldenEye 007, which helped to drive sales and make it a popular console amongst gamers. It was overall considered a successful console and played a significant role in the history of video games. It helped to pave the way for future consoles and introduced many gamers to 3D graphics and the concept of a 3D gaming world for the first time. Nintendo was on top of the world at this point in time, and its success can be attributed to several factors. One of the company's strengths is its ability to create unique and innovative gaming experiences that are not available on other consoles. Nintendo is also known for its strong lineup of exclusive games featuring beloved characters like Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon. Furthermore, Nintendo has a strong reputation for quality and has always prioritized gameplay and fun over technical specifications. This approach has helped to make Nintendo consoles accessible to a wider audience, including families and casual gamers. To expand its reach, Nintendo has established subsidiaries and partnerships in various countries, including Nintendo of America, Nintendo of Europe, and Nintendo of Japan. These regional branches help to distribute Nintendo products and provide localized support and services for gamers around the world. However, there was always one market that Nintendo had a hard time entering: China. In the year 2000, a monumental decision reshaped the gaming landscape, forever altering the course of the industry in China. This was of course the video game ban, which effectively outlawed the sale of video games and video game consoles. To understand the video game ban, we have to look back at the growth of the gaming industry in China through the 80s and 90s. The 1980s were a time when China's video game industry was just taking its first steps. In an era dominated by state-controlled media and limited access to foreign technology, video games were a very exciting rarity. However, they were pricey and considered a luxury, and so most gamers favored going to arcades. As the 1990s dawned, winds of change were blowing across the nation. China's doors were creaking open, and many video game bootlegs were steadily rising in popularity.
Granddad! Flintstones?
Knockoff video game consoles were stealthy and often disguised as different computer systems. Most notably, a bootleg of the Nintendo Famicom, also known outside of Japan as the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES, was released as an educational computer system bundled with English language software, and was even heavily promoted by renowned actor Jackie Chan in commercials and on packaging as a way to help students learn programming. Despite this facade, the system was essentially a clone fully capable of playing Famicom game cartridges and introduced many in China to Nintendo games, despite being a completely unofficial system. The allure of these consoles was irresistible, captivating the hearts of the Chinese people and igniting a spark of gaming passion. Bootlegs and unlicensed games began to flood the market, something that Nintendo was well aware of by the late 1990s, and was already working on a strategy to enter the vast and expansive gaming market in China. But unfortunately for Nintendo, with the turn of the millennium came concerns that cast a shadow over the gaming paradise in China. Fears grew about the potential negative impact of video games on the physical and mental health of China's youth. Worries of addiction, sedentary lifestyles, and declining academic performance led the government to take drastic action. In the year 2000, the video game ban went into effect. The decision was not made lightly, driven by the government's desire to protect the well-being of its young citizens and preserve the nation's cultural fabric. The ban was far-reaching and aimed to shield Chinese society from foreign influences. It was this situation that gave birth to this. The iQue Player is a video game console developed by Nintendo in 2003 in conjunction with Taiwanese-American entrepreneur and businessman Wei Yen under the company iQue. It was released exclusively in China and was the first official Nintendo console to be produced and released only for the Chinese market. The iQue Player is a modified version of the Nintendo 64 console, built to fit entirely inside of the controller housing. It has a unique controller design that resembles a mix of the Nintendo 64 controller and the GameCube controller. The console is also designed with a built-in memory card, which is used to store saved data and the game software itself. One of the most significant features of the iQue Player was the use of a digital distribution system, where games would be downloaded onto the memory card of the console from either a kiosk or the online iQue store via Windows XP, instead of using traditional game cartridges. It was designed in this way specifically to circumnavigate China's ban on home console products placed at the time. Despite making it to market, the console only ever saw 14 games released for the system. Games were translated with minimal changes to the games themselves, although notably, Star Fox 64 had its dialogue dubbed.
帮帮我们火狐战队，安德鲁斯正式宣战了，他已经入侵莱拉特星系了，企图控制整个克尼利亚。我们的部队无法独立完成这个任务，快来呀，火狐！
It's estimated that only about 12,000 of these things were ever sold, making it a commercial failure and one of Nintendo's worst-selling video game consoles of all time. But despite its status as a commercial flop, it was an innovative and uniquely designed system specifically for the Chinese market, and it helps pave the way for future Nintendo releases overseas and especially in China. Curiously enough, the system has enjoyed a second life of sorts, finding a home in a remarkable community of dedicated video game players, the Ocarina of Time speedrun community. A speedrunner is someone who plays a game to completion as fast as possible. Most of the time, speedrunners will play retro games with a lot of dialogue in Japanese, as it tends to be faster than English, given that more information can be displayed in fewer characters, and so text boxes are speedier. It just so happens that not only is the Chinese text faster than Japanese, but certain areas in the game had less lag than even the Wii Virtual Console port of the game, meaning it ran faster. One of the most iconic speedrun world records of the mid-2010s was Narcissa Wright's 18-minute, 10-second Ocarina of Time run, and of course, it was performed on the iQue player.
Oh, fuck! It's over. Ocarina of Time is dead. Any percent is done. That's it.
In 2015, China finally lifted the ban on video games, and about a year later, in 2016, 13 years after this thing was originally introduced into the marketplace, support was finally discontinued, marking the end of an era. Since then, Nintendo's been able to import more video game consoles under the iQue brand, and the Chinese video game market has experienced a huge boom, and the future remains exciting. Thank you so much for watching this video up to this point. I hope you enjoyed. It was a lot of fun researching this kind of obscure console. I've had one in my possession for a real long time, but in research for this video, I actually learned a lot about the console that I didn't quite know. It's kind of a sort of a weird niche mystery, and not that many of these are around, and you know, it was kind of fun to research. But if you enjoyed the video, let me know what you thought in the comments, give it a like if you did, and subscribe to the channel for more content coming soon. Appreciate you all for being here. Lots of love. Ciao for now.